Hi, my name is Rubidium. Welcome to another episode of Learning Curve. In this series, I try out various film and filmmaking technologies to see how hard it is to get a working knowledge and a basic grip on them. Today we are looking at a device called a LUT box. This is it here. This is one variation called the IS Mini 4K. And what it does is it sits in the chain between your camera over here and your monitor here. I have this sort of diorama stuff behind me. You can see my hand. And what it allows me to do is use software that's similar to Resolve or Premiere to color grade a live image, the direct feed from the camera. Just to give you an idea of how this works, I'll go into the software that comes with this device. You can see it's sitting here. It needs to be powered and it needs to be connected to the computer via USB or Ethernet. How the device works is it comes with software with some basic color grading and LUT loading tools, and you're able to load in a LUT or create your own on the fly and basically control what the camera is seeing so that your client or the director or whoever it is that has sort of final say on set can get a more accurate idea of what the final image is going to be. As you can see, it's pretty grayed out and not particularly pleasing to the eye, so that the camera can achieve its maximum dynamic range. For a long time, we just had to kind of make excuses to the client and say, well, it'll look better once we color grade it. And some cameras and some monitors actually started integrating native LUTs, so it gives you a Rec. 709 native image, or they have the ability to load LUTs in. The problem with that is you end up going between, say, DaVinci Resolve and your camera, between DaVinci Resolve and your monitor to try and tweak the image that you're getting. And it's so much easier to do it live with a calibrated monitor to know exactly what you're going to get. So here I have my log image. This is C-Log3, and I've got no LUT, as you can see in the display here. So all I'm going to do is go over to my simple color grading tab and turn up the contrast. And you can I can see what I'm doing on the waveform monitors inside the program. It's actually giving me an accurate waveform, and I can turn it off and say before the LUT to bring my contrast up. And then I'm going to bring my saturation up as well. You can see the red really starts to pop here. And then I might bring my midpoint up as well. So I'm just going to grab this thing here and just bring the midpoint up. There is a little button over here that says bypass, so I can see in real time this is the feed from the camera, and this is the feed with the LUT applied. There is also a button on the LUT box itself that once you hold it down, it does that bypass. The reason that that's important is once you disconnect the LUT box from the computer, the LUT that you have created will actually stay in the LUT box, so you don't need it connected to a computer. Once you've got the LUT that you're happy with, you can disconnect it and take it somewhere else, even take it to set, and it'll keep that information. This is the IS Mini 4K that can actually handle a 4K signal. The other IS Mini does fine in 1080p. This monitor is actually only 1080p, but it is color calibrated, which gives me a lot more accurate reading than my desktop here. So that's one way of doing it, and I might then choose to export that LUT, export the current look as a LUT in itself, as a DaVinci Cube, and I'll just put it in my LUTs file here and say contrast and color. Now it is important that you reset your values before you apply another LUT, or else the manipulation you did in the simple grading thing will get put on top of whatever LUT you load in. But rather than that, use no LUT, we go to our local LUTs. I'll choose my Aries LUT and say open. Now you can see that this is really contrasty, the opposite of what we had. This is because Aries was designed for the actual raw files rather than the SDI feed, which is C-Log 2 versus C-Log 3. So this is far too contrasty. But if I wanted to use this for my feed on set, which is really, a common requirement, I'm going to turn down my contrast now and turn down my saturation and probably bring my exposure up now. So again, here my bypass, and now I've adjusted an existing LUT for typically another actual camera curve for the curve that we're seeing. So I'm able to get a much more accurate vision of it. There are more sophisticated controls in here. So I can go over to say vector, and if the yellow of the skull is a little bit too yellow, I can find that color somewhere here and choose to desaturate just that yellow. This is really helpful on set if, say, your lead actor has blemishes on their skin or they've got too much rouge on. Rather than adjust the person, you can take it out in post, but to get a nice image so you're not looking at that all day, you can go in and tweak elements of the color live. And if I go over to my local LUT, now I can actually scroll through and see the original ones they had and then my new 3 modified ones. So this may be something when you change scenes or change looks, you can go through and work out which LUT works best and then save that LUT on your computer. So when it comes time to grade, you can call this like scene 27 close-up, and you're basically grading as you're shooting. Something else that's super helpful, if say you're shooting a very extreme color way of doing things, we can blue this up by quite a lot. We can increase the contrast here, and then we can even choose to really turn down the exposure. Say we're doing something like day for night, and we want to know what our scene is going to look like once we desaturate it, push a lot of blue into it, and bring down the contrast. Even though my scene is lit exactly the way it was before, like where's my bypass button, I'm now getting a preview of what it's going to look like when I apply a day for night look. So the DP can know what's going to be blown out, what's not going to be blown out, what's going to be crushed, what's not going to be crushed as he's shooting on a color accurate monitor. The LUTbox and Wonderlook Pro were quite a learning curve for me. I think I'm 6 or 7 hours in before I really was able to do everything that I wanted to do. It is quite a specialized skill that there aren't that many people who want to grade live on set. But if you have a DIT or have a data wrangler and you really need to see what you're going to shoot, what you're going to end up with while you're shooting it, it can be a really great tool. The IS Mini 4K is around $2,300, but the software that comes with it is free. It does have a little brother, the IS Mini X, which is about $950 and is a lot smaller and more compact and the sort of thing that you would attach to the back of your display monitor. As someone who really obsesses about color and really loves control on set, it's something that I'm really glad I have as a tool now, even though I understand that at this point it may not be for everyone, but this is the kind of technology that's going to make its way into more and more hands as it gets cheaper and more accessible. That is the episode of Learning Curve about LUT boxes and the software that goes with them. Hope you found it useful. I will see you next time.